23rd. Y'all know what that means. We are 23 days behind my July 2023 ranking. And that means today I'm going to make my July 2023 ranking. So if you guys are okay with that, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what is your ranking of last month's movies. I mean, it's crazy because even in August, I have seen quite a bit of movies, but I still haven't put out this video. So, I mean, I've been really behind. Football started, so I've been focused on those preseason videos. Kind of forgot to do this one a little bit, but I'm going to do that one today. So with that said, let's get started. I have seen 7 of them. My number 7 is also currently my least favorite movie of the year because of how bad it was. That would be Insidious the Red Door. A time where I was just watching new movies left and right, and I was going to make a video about all of them. There was like 10 of them. Insidious the Red Door was one of them. And I'm not going to lie when I say that Insidious the Red Door was probably one of the biggest pieces of dog crap I've ever seen. I mean, look, my least favorite movies of the past couple of years, let's look at them, okay? We've had Thunder Force of 2021, not good, but that movie still had its entertainment values. In 2020, it was Hard Kill and Trolls World Tour. I'd say they're tied. Hard Kill because it was like a direct-to-video Bruce Willis movie, and Trolls World Tour because like the plot and all that just does not make sense. But I do owe Trolls World Tour something because that was my first video. But I mean, anyways, last year we have Morbius. That was pretty bad. And this year we have Insidious the Red Door. If I'm going off of quality, where I'd say that Thunder Force and Hard Kill are like on good, bad. They're still terrible movies, but they're on good, bad. I don't really know how to say that. But this movie is definitely on more of a line with Morbius than those movies. Because look at this. I mean, come on, man. This is like the most unnecessary thing you've ever had to do. We got this family's ending in number 2. The dad just did all of the crazy stuff because he was possessed. And then they get it out of him. The family has a happy ending. The demons leave him alone. All good with that. And then we have a couple ideas here that could have worked for a third movie. So the dad sees his dad and explores his past in this universe. That's a good idea. The family gets divorced, the family's in shambles, and the kids go off to college. That's a good idea. But the execution of it all is not good. Of course, we got the typical trope. Kid goes off to college, you know, messes with stuff. Stuff happens. That trope is all in this movie, and I absolutely hate that trope. And then, like, the ghost and everything didn't even really need to be there. It was like all of a sudden he started seeing things because of a door in his brain or whatever, and so they make up some lame excuse to bring these ghosts back into this family life, and then all of a sudden the dad goes on his own journey. They go into the beyond. You see the red ghost one more time, that I think was a cool design, and that was okay, but then after that he's just completely wasted. There's no clear ghost enemy. There's no clear enemy here. It's just like, let's do a movie about this family. The family's broken, the kids go to college, and then all of a sudden, a couple of ghosts show up, and let's not really focus in on the ghosts, let's focus in on the family, and the ghosts were clearly a second priority. Now, like I said, cool ideas, there are a couple of cool shots here. There's one shot I really liked, where this dad, who apparently thinks he's going crazy for some reason, sets up boards along the wall, and all of a sudden he reveals one, and this ghost is getting closer and closer, and then eventually jumps through the window. I think that's a really cool shot, but overall this movie's execution was just terrible, unnecessary, when we could have had any other idea. The way that they went in 3 and 4, I have not seen 3 and 4 yet, but the way what I heard they were about seems like the right way to go. Not bring back this family and just completely erase the Insidious movies. I'm talking like the Insidious movies are some of my favorite horror movies. They're not, because I literally, right before I saw the new one, binged both of these back to back, but they're also really good horror movies. and stuff that just should not be messed with. I'm not going to blame Patrick Wilson's directing debut. I'm going to blame the writers. This was a terrible mistake of a movie. Patrick Wilson, I really hope you get more good movies and not this steaming pile of crap, for lack of better words. Sixth place, I got a movie on Netflix that not a lot of people watched called The Outlaws. It's weird because it's got Pierce Brosnan in it. It's got a pretty stacked cast as well. Make that a good movie? No, not really. I was in a church van all day from coming to St. Louis, where I live, to I think it was Texas at the time. So that's like a 15-hour drive. So I was just watching movies all day. I already watched my last one. I had time to watch like a quick little movie. So I searched on Netflix. I found this one and I turned it on. And if you don't know, this is like the most awkward movie to watch in a church van. Within the first 3 seconds, the lead character is, you know, doing the little and talking about his wiener, and like that's like the most awkward thing when you're in the van full of church kids. Instead of turning the movie off, I kept watching it, and the movie necessarily didn't ever get better. It was just like this. It's not a terrible movie. It's like those Netflix movies that all came out last year. A lot of them, Day Shift, The Man from Toronto, movies with stacked casts that not a lot of people watch, but it's got a fun action, fun story. But this is like the real low of that. It wasn't very fun. The movie occasionally had a couple jokes due to the actors actually trying and having fun on set. I think that was a cool little thing that they did, was not just like not try to do this movie. But for me, like, the script is another bad script. I mean, the jokes don't really land. There's more humping the air jokes than really ever. And so I just think that this movie was kind of bland. Also, the story is just really bland as well. I mean, it's just like corporate bad guy kidnaps daughter and gotta go save him. And like I said, the movie it had its moments, of course. The cast obviously was great. There was a couple pretty funny moments, like, again, mainly due to the cast here. The action wasn't miserable. It wasn't miserable to get through. It had its moments, like I said. But overall, like, the script. Corporate bad guy kidnaps daughter. Obviously, she gets it in the end. They go through all the motions. The story just wasn't interesting enough to hold my attention. And it did, like, the thing that I don't like, which is making a movie overly raunchy for no reason. Like, there's no reason that this guy should have been an idiot sitting in the kitchen singing about, you know, while her parents are right behind him. That it's just like, come on, man. Come on, man. This could have been a much better Netflix original, but it's just like, it's kind of bland, kind of boring, not enough interesting things, not enough spaz for a Netflix original movie, and so it's kind of a downflop on its face. And now here we go. You're all gonna get mad at me about this one. Fifth place, I got Barbie. It's not my movie. It's a movie that I wanted to see. I've never seen a Greta Gerwig film, so this is my introduction to Gerwig. I love the cast here. I really wanted to see the movie because of the cast. The trailers didn't necessarily make it look all that good, but the last trailer looked funny, and so I was just excited to watch it. When I did the Barbenheimer double feature, I sat back, and I was like, okay then. Because this movie definitely has some real big message issues. Obviously, the cast is great. You get people like Kingsley Ben-Adir, side roles, and they're absolutely hilarious together. I mean, freaking Michael Pera is in this movie just for like 3 minutes of the movie total. Michael Cera's in this movie for 3 minutes total. That's the kind of stacked cast you got here. They're all great. Their chemistry can be pretty funny. It's a really entertaining movie. I wasn't bored necessarily. I watched it twice. I wasn't bored while watching the movie at all. I think it was entertaining. The set design and the score is all wonderful in this movie. They did a great job with that. There are some emotional moments. There could be some room for good messages. because there's a couple good ideas with the messaging that I think, if done right, could have made to be a great movie if they forgot about a whole lot of it. Overall, this movie mainly just was ruined by the over-shoving of the message down your throat. We're here, we get Barbie Land, there's a big cast, they all have great chemistry with each other, they're in the real world, having fun in the real world, they finally find the twist out, and then all of a sudden, the movie just completely goes into men rule the world now, and women are like, we can rule the world too, and this is a Barbie world, and so the men and the women go to war to find out who rules Barbie world, and then the men go to war, and then all that, and it's kind of just a little bit like real life. Anyways, then all of a sudden, we get the main woman standing up doing a speech like, I'm a woman, I can do whatever you men can, and then all of a sudden, at the beginning of the movie, you know that this messaging is going to be wrong. If, like, the first 30 seconds of the movie, you get a character saying, I wrote this all on my own because I don't mean to man and I could circulate my own thoughts. That's an exact quote from the beginning of the movie. And just, like, the messaging about, like, a couple things, what women have to go through, that could have been a good message about men and, like, rejection and finding your own self. That is a good message. But they just over-shove it all down your throat to where there's 5 or 6 different messages. And each one, there's a character standing up giving a whole preach about this message. And it just does not work in that way. It's an entertaining movie. I had fun with it. If someone asked me if I would watch it again, it wouldn't be like my first choice, but it wouldn't be my last either. But the messaging really needed some work, and the script really needed some work. And, like, even within the first few seconds of the movie, the first time I watched it, I sat back and I was like, I know exactly my feelings walking out of this movie, and they were my exact feelings. I walked out of the movie liking a lot of things about it, but just hating the way the message was delivered. 4th place, I got Haunted Mansion, the new Haunted Mansion movie from Disney. I thought this one was an absolute blast for me. The cast is obviously great. They all had fantastic chemistry with each other. That's mainly due to the reason why the movie is also so funny. This movie also has some hilarious jokes, elevated by how good the cast member were. I mean, Lakeith Stanfield, Owen Wilson, they are all great in this movie, and like I said, the jokes are genuinely really funny in this film as well. The ghost design and the action, it was all just like a fun adventure. I think the pacing is much improved over the original, where in the original we get like really weird pacing. This movie calms that down just a little bit, makes it work. And so overall, for a movie, I think that this is a fun movie. Disney has been really I've been really doubting Disney lately. I walked into this movie saying, yeah, this is not going to be good. I walked out of it having an absolute blast. Does that mean this movie is perfect? No. The story isn't all that interesting. The script isn't all that good. I walked away from this movie thinking to myself, yeah, it was fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching it. It's getting a positive score. I did not walk away from this movie saying, oh, this is so good because the story is so well done. No, it was just kind of like the normal story, just, and all of a sudden it keeps adding in new layers, which I thought was pretty funny. And each time it was just like, yeah, oh yeah, we forgot to mention this ghost can do this, and so now this can happen in this universe, and we're not going to explain it because the ghost can do this, okay? And it was just all that, and it just, story wasn't necessarily all that interesting. The fight against the ghosts wasn't all that interesting for me. But overall, I did have a blast with this movie, mainly due to the cast and the characters and how funny the movie was and how heartfelt it could be at times. Definitely not the best Disney movie ever, but compared to the recent crap that Disney's been putting out, I think this is one of the better ones. And I do think that this movie is an improvement over the original. Kicking off our top 3, Oppenheimer. This is a movie that I watched, and I didn't necessarily think it was the best thing ever, but it was still a pretty good movie. Obviously, you get the cast here where you got people like Robert Downey Jr. in side roles. That's how big this cast is. Robert Downey Jr. is great in this movie. Cillian Murphy is great in this movie. Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt are both in this movie, and they're both obviously great. I loved each of them in this movie, and I loved each and every cast member in this movie. I'd say that the first half of the movie is far more interesting than the last. I mean, I was really into the movie when it was about building this big nuclear bomb, and then when the bomb went off, that was really cool, and I absolutely loved it. But then after the bomb went off, I felt myself drifting off, and I was like, okay, this movie should end anytime soon, but it's still got an hour left. And then Christopher Nolan did his thing, and he pulled me back into the story, and I got the story back invested in me, and I was invested for the final bit of the movie. It's a Christopher Nolan movie to where Christopher Nolan, for me, is not the best director. I'm not a Nolan guy that much, because all of his movies have interesting ideas, but a lot of the execution never really works. For this one, I think he was dead set on what he was doing. He didn't have no confusing ideas. It was a political thriller biopic about creation of the nuclear bomb, and he nails all of the things he was trying to go for. And then in the second act, or third act technically, when it completely switches up pacings, and I thought to myself, this is going to be bad. I eventually got invested back in the movie. Christopher Nolan does his thing. Thing is, movie's 3 hours long. I mean, 3 hours of a lot of people just talking. Obviously, there's going to be some downtime. You're just sitting there watching people talking. You will, start to get bored at a couple scenes. But Nolan eventually pulls you all back in. Overall, to where I think that this is one of Nolan's best movies. Probably his best since Interstellar and The Dark Knight. And so, yeah. Oppenheimer, I don't crave the movie like a lot of people are, but I still think it was pretty good. Second place, I got Joyride, which is a movie that I was not planning on watching. I was in the theater, I believe, seeing Renfield when the trailer of this movie debuted. I sat back to myself. I leaned over to my brother and I said, I'm not watching that piece of garbage. But I was free one night, and so I just decided to watch it anyways, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the most big surprises of the year. Obviously, it's got all the stupid raunchiness, the stuff that does not work, the inappropriate humor every 3 seconds. They talk about body parts all the time. It's got all that. But the movie can be surprisingly heartfelt, especially where in the first 2 acts of this movie, I thought it was a pretty funny movie, but it did have some problems. And I was entertained by it. That's the big thing. But when we get into the third act, it adds in a little mix of emotions for the characters, and the characters go off and they break apart, and then the mother part, it just has its big emotions to where I sat back and I was like, I was not expecting this to happen. This is also a movie where it's not just treating the side characters as the inappropriate sidekick. It's treating the side characters as people. Why are they inappropriate? They're inappropriate because they want attention, because nobody's ever given them attention before. It could be that heartfelt at times, and I felt myself getting the emotions, and just, it's a lovely story about friends. And sure, every time they cut to an inappropriate joke or someone talking about, the thing, it was just not my movie. My movie was a heartfelt, emotional film with all friends where it all wraps up pretty good. They go on a trip, they come back, you get the emotions in there, and it even adds a little extra thing with the characters and the way every character has something. They're not just a side character. It adds a little something that makes this one of the better comedies, probably one of the best comedies besides Cocaine Bear of the year so far. And so I really liked Joyride. I think it was a big surprise. It's not number one because number one's the new Mission Impossible movie. Compared to the Mission Impossible, all of the other movies, I think it's one of the weaker ones. Still Ranking is going to come out. I have not watched Rogue Nation yet. That's the only one I need to watch. But this one right here, one of the not the best ones in this franchise. It's definitely has its problems, but for me, I think it's another great Mission Impossible movie. It's intense from beginning to end. To me and the girl I went with, we're literally sitting there on the edge of our seats saying to ourselves, wow, 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 don't do that, don't do that. To where that's what a Mission Impossible movie is supposed to be. Mission Impossible 3 was like that. None of the other Mission Impossible movies were just action movies. They were fun. This one has intensity, and you don't know what's going to happen. And so it's just a cool atmosphere in that, especially when you're in the movie theater with a girl and you're sitting back and you're both just fully invested in this movie. The action is great. The side characters are great. Like I said, it's intense. It's got intense moments. The new characters are great. Haley Atwell is actually really great in this movie. I really did dig this movie as a whole. Does have its problems though, the reason it's not one of my favorite Mission Impossible movies, it is in my top 10 of the year. I think that this is a really good Mission Impossible movie, really entertaining, just like the rest of the movies. The reason not in my top 10 is it always does have a little much going on. Like, this time, you'll get these characters searching for Ethan, and then you got more characters searching for Ethan, and more characters, to where, like, there's never really, like, that level of confusion in any of the other Mission Impossible movies. I always felt like there was, like, some grounded reality. This one, I always felt like, why are there so many people going after Ethan? And obviously, the plot about Ethan being a rogue agent is really overdone at this point. But overall, I love the action. I love the intensity. I'm excited for part 2. The movie left us off on a pretty bad part, though, where I thought there was going to be, like, a whole another hour left. But I'm excited for part 2. I will be in that theater on part 2. Not my favorite Mission Impossible movie, but it's one of my favorite action movies of the year so far. It's still a pretty good movie. So that is my ranking of the July movies. Make sure you let me know down below, what is your ranking of all the movies. On my second channel, I am doing predictions each week for the NFL. I have done preseasons week 1 and 2. I'm going to film my preseason week 3. I do them with my brother, so that'd be pretty fun. And then I'm so excited for the NFL to start. I got reviews for Blue Beetle, The Meg 2, and Heart of Stone, a bunch of August movies. That will be my next video on this channel. Ranking of the MCU projects. I'm really hoping that I can get this channel back together, because I had a lot of movies that I need to talk about. With that said, thank you guys for clicking on this one. And with that said, subscribe, join the YouTube channel. Peace out. Or, did I just say subscribe to join my YouTube channel? Subscribe, join the Nerd Army. Peace out. That's better.